I live within a timeline, but it is not the only one available to me. Right now, around me, infinite versions of reality vibrate, barely noticeable, almost unattainable, waiting for me to crash them into my experience. And yet, people remain locked in the same cycle, living out the same scenarios, getting the same results, experiencing the same disappointments, wondering why nothing is changing even though they desperately want more. Let's break something down here. I am not stuck because of fate, destiny, or bad luck. I am stuck because my system, my mind, my body, my emotions, my frequency are still locked into the old timeline. I cannot break free by wishing, I cannot escape by force, and I certainly cannot fool the quantum field by pretending. Quantum shift is not about manifesting harder. It is about entering a new state of being so completely and consistently that the quantum field has no choice but to reflect a different reality. Let me explain. Most people think manifestation is about desire, wanting something so badly that the universe will provide it. But here's the truth that no one tells you. Just wanting something doesn't do anything in the quantum world. The field doesn't respond to how much I want change. It responds to how aligned I am with the frequency of that change. That means that right now, even if I'm saying all the right affirmations, doing all the vision boards, doing all the visualization, I may still be signaling the old timeline. Why? Because deep down, my body is wired for the familiar. My nervous system is addicted to old emotional cycles. My subconscious is broadcasting patterns of fear, doubt, scarcity, even when my conscious mind is screaming, I want abundance. I want love. I want success. And here's the shocking part. The quantum world listens to the dominant signal, not the loudest. Let that sink in. The dominant signal comes from the vibration of my entire system, not just what I think, but what I feel, what I expect, what I embody. That's why I can say I am rich 1,000 times. But if my body contracts with anxiety every time I pay a bill, the field picks up the contraction, not the affirmation. This is why I can visualize love all day long. But if my heart is armored and closed, the field registers isolation, not connection. This is the trap that keeps people spinning on the old timeline. They believe that change begins outside, with circumstances, actions, results. But a quantum shift begins inside, with a state, a coherence, and alignment. I have to become the version of myself that already inhabits the timeline I desire. Not someday, not when the evidence comes in, but now. And here's where it gets really wild. Quantum physics teaches us that all possibilities exist simultaneously in a field of potential. Every timeline, every version of me, every outcome I could ever imagine, they're all already vibrating in the quantum world. When I shift my vibration, I don't create something out of nothing. I collapse into the version that has been waiting for me all along. That's why mystics, inventors, and great thinkers throughout history have spoken of the power of frequency, numbers, codes. Nikola Tesla famously said, "If I only knew the magnificence of 3, 6, and 9, I would have the key to the universe." These numbers are not magic tricks. They point to universal patterns, harmonics, and the deep truth that reality is organized around vibrations. So the question is not, how do I get what I want? The real question is, what do I need to become vibrationally to align with the timeline where it already exists? And becoming is not faking. Becoming is not faking. Becoming is not playing a role. Becoming is a full body and soul shift into alignment. It is the beginning of a quantum shift. I am not here to fight the old timeline. I am here to rise to the frequency of the new. But before we get into how to do that, I want to pause and reflect on this. What version of me was making my decisions today? What timeline was I feeding my attention, my focus, my energy? And am I willing to let go of that version so that a new one can emerge? Sit with these questions. Breathe into them. Feel the edges they press against inside me. Because in the next section, we'll delve into the invisible forces that keep me stuck in the old cycle. Resistance, subconscious patterns, emotional imprints, and how they hijack my attempts to shift. This is the level no one warns you about. The part that explains why so many people know the theory of quantum manifestation, but never experience transformation. Am I ready to reveal this? So let's talk about the real reason people don't shift. It's not that they're lazy. It's not that they don't want the change badly enough. It's certainly not that they're not manifesting correctly. It's that they're still connected to a version of themselves that is wired to survive on an old timeline. And that version, while outdated, is familiar. And the subconscious loves the familiar more than it loves progress. The old timeline doesn't need my permission to keep playing. It only needs my participation. Every time I react the same way, tell the same story, expect the same outcome, the signal gets stronger. It's like a well-worn neural pathway in the brain. The more I walk it, the deeper it becomes. And soon the pathway becomes automatic. I no longer choose my timeline. It chooses me. This is where quantum physics and neuroscience intersect in a way most people miss. In quantum mechanics, the observer effect tells us that the act of observation collapses a wave of infinite potential into a single event, a particle, a choice, a reality. But here's the rub. I don't just observe reality with my eyes. I observe it with my beliefs, my emotions, my expectations. Now add neuroscience. 95% of my behavior is driven by my subconscious, which stores all my emotional, conditioning, trauma, beliefs, and identity models. This means that most of the time, it's not my conscious intention that's turning the wave. This is my subconscious programming. Let it sink in. I am trying to manifest from the 5% of me that is awake and aware, while 95% of me is still wired for fear, lack, mistrust, and survival. And the quantum world responds to the dominant signal. So when people say manifestation isn't working, what they really mean is, I haven't changed the inner observer that is folding my reality yet. This is why people get stuck. This is why I can change jobs, partners, cities, and still find myself in the same emotional patterns. Because nothing external has the power to override an internal frequency that has not been changed. Let me put it another way. The timeline cannot shift unless the observer has shifted. So what keeps me stuck in the old way? Usually it's resistance. And resistance is insidious. It shows up as overthinking, as procrastination, as emotional numbness, as hyperproductivity, as fear disguised as logic, as a voice that says, be realistic. But resistance always comes down to the same thing. My system thinks it's safer to stay where I am, even if I hate it, than to jump into the unknown. And this belief lives in the body. Hidden traumas, repressed emotions, inherited fears. They are all encoded in my nervous system. This is why I can know something intellectually but still can't live it. This is why affirmations don't work, why visualizations fade, why I keep falling back into the same old cycles. The resistance is not in my thinking, it's in my chemistry. When my nervous system is upset, it sends a threat signal to the field. Even when my mouth says, I'm ready. This energetic contradiction keeps folding the same limited results. It's not personal, it's physics. Nikola Tesla once said, if I want to understand the secrets of the universe, I must think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. This is not a metaphor, it was literal. My life is a frequency. My thoughts, emotions, posture, breathing, all create a vibrational pattern that either aligns with my desired timeline or pushes it away. This is why many people are drawn to numbers like 36977 or sacred geometry. They intuitively sense that the universe speaks in patterns, that frequencies are not random, they are encoded into reality. I am not just a person going through life. I am a frequency generator embedded in a responsive field. And I have been broadcasting the same old pattern for so long that I have mistaken it for who I am. But here is the good news. I don't have to fight this pattern. I just have to stop feeding it. Let me ask you, where am I still vibrating in fear while making a statement of faith? Where am I still bracing myself for rejection while looking for love? Where am I still trying to attract abundance while feeling unworthy of it? These are the subtle contradictions that prevent timelines from shifting. In the next part of this journey, we will explore what it actually takes to shift timelines, not in theory, but in tangible, embodied practice. I will learn how to align the conscious and subconscious, how to bring your body into alignment, and how to begin to show up as the version of yourself that is already living within the new reality. But before we go any further, I want to invite myself to something real. If I feel something clicking into place, and if a part of me is awakening to my own power, sign up. Stay in this space. Grow with us. And in the comments, drop a word, one word, that represents a cycle I'm ready to break. Maybe it's fear, maybe it's scarcity, maybe it's the silence. Whatever it is, name it. Not for me, for yourself. Because naming a cycle is the first act of dissolving it. Now we get to the part that most people never get to. Not because it's hidden, but because it's so simple they miss it. Shifting timelines is not about forcing the quantum field to obey you. It's about being so completely aligned with the version of me that is already living the reality I desire that the old timeline can no longer hold me. Let's break this down. Think of the quantum field as a vast ocean of possibilities. Every timeline, every version of me, every outcome already exists in that ocean as a wave. When I focus, when I observe, when I align, I fold a particular wave into a form. But here's the thing. I don't collapse a wave by wanting it. I collapse it by matching it. And matching isn't just mental. It's emotional, physical, vibrational. It's how my entire system hums when I'm in alignment. So why do people have trouble matching the new timeline? Because they try to get there by thinking about it. They intellectualize the shift. I know abundance is available. I know love is possible. I know I can heal. But knowing is not enough. My body needs to know. My emotions need to know. My breathing, my posture, my habits, my identity, they all need to signal, I am now the version of myself that belongs in this timeline. This is where embodiment comes in. Embodiment is not a buzzword. It is the missing link. It is the practice of inhabiting the frequency I want before the outside world gives me permission. Let me give you an example. If I am moving into an abundance timeline, embodiment might mean spending money with trust rather than panic. This might mean breathing into my body when fear of lack arises, rather than becoming anxious. It might mean approaching possibilities with openness, rather than bracing myself for disappointment. If I am moving into the love timeline, embodiment might mean softening my heart when I want to close off. It may mean taking emotional risks. It may mean showing vulnerability, even when my old wounds tell me to hide. If I am moving into a health timeline, embodiment may mean treating my body as if it is already healing, already being restored. It may mean feeding it with respect, moving it with gratitude, resting it with love. See the pattern? I don't wait for the timeline to shift to start living differently. I start living differently and the timeline shifts. That's why so many manifestation attempts fail. They're conditional. I'll feel grateful when I get a job. I'll relax when I find a relationship. I'll feel abundant when the money comes. But the quantum world doesn't work that way. And the field doesn't test me or punish me. It reflects me. And the reflection is instantaneous, not delayed. Here we return to the wisdom of Tesla, 369, the universal patterns encoded in reality. These are not superstitions. They are reminders. They return us to the truth that life is organized around energy, not effort. So the real work is, can I become aligned? Can I bring my mind, heart, body, and actions into alignment, even when nothing external has changed yet? Can I hold the signal long enough for the wave to collapse? Because here's the paradox no one talks about. The timeline doesn't shift when I get tired of waiting. The timeline shifts when expectation is no longer part of my frequency. Pause. Breathe this in. This is quantum code. The version of me that has what I desire is not in the future. It vibrates now on a frequency I can access today. The question is, will I tune into it? Before we go any further, consider this. What would my day look like if I acted, breathed, and moved like the version of me that was already on my desired timeline? What small choices would change? What emotional habits would shift? What conversations would end or begin? This isn't about grand gestures. It's about subtle, persistent alignment. In the next section, we'll look at how to put these ideas into practice, how to stop obsessing over information and start living moment by moment. Am I ready to embody the timeline I've been trying to keep up with? In the next section, we'll look at how to put these ideas into practice, how to stop obsessing over information and start living moment by moment. Am I ready to embody the timeline I've been trying to keep up with? Let's start here. The only practice that matters is the one I actually live. We live in an age where it's easy to consume knowledge, collect techniques, binge watch manifestation videos, and never integrate. Why? Because consumption feels like progress. But progress only happens when the body, the breath, the actions begin to match the information. So how do we bring the quantum shift into everyday life? First, I must understand the principle of microalignment. Most people think that shifting timelines requires large-scale dramatic changes. But quantum reality responds to alignment, not size. A small act done with pure, aligned intention can carry more vibrational weight than a giant, crazy gesture done out of desperation. Let's break this down into simple, everyday examples. If I'm shifting toward abundance, my practice might be to breathe deeply when thoughts of scarcity arise, rather than falling into fear. Expressing gratitude for small resources, reinforcing the message I have enough. Spending money with presence and trust, not panic or guilt. If I am moving toward love, my practice might be opening my posture when I want to cower or hide. Reaching out with kindness instead of retreating into self-defense. Speaking words of affection even when vulnerability feels acute. If I am moving toward health, my practice might be tuning into the subtle sensations of life force already present in my body. Choosing foods, movements, and rest with the energy of respect rather than punishment. Catching the internal dialogue of criticism and switching it to support. These small actions are quantum keys. They say to the field, this is who I am now, not who I'm trying to be someday, but who I've decided to be today. But here's what most people miss. Practice isn't about perfection. It's about return. I'll stagger. I'll fall back into old cycles. I'll catch myself thinking, feeling, or acting from an old timeline. This doesn't mean I've failed. It means I'm alive. The power isn't in never slipping. The power is in how quickly I come back. Every time I notice myself slipping into an old frequency and gently guide myself back, I strengthen the new timeline. Every time I pause, breathe, and choose coherence over chaos, I strengthen the shift. Every time I act as if the new reality is already true, even when the outside world hasn't caught up yet, I collapse the wave. This is the dance of quantum embodiment. Now let's talk about tools. Some people find practices like breathing exercises, meditation, and visualization to be helpful in tuning the system. Others find the use of sacred symbols, numbers like 369 or 727, or sound frequencies powerful. These tools are not magic tricks. They are anchors. They help the subconscious get the message that I am aligned with a new reality. But remember, no tool works without embodied participation. I cannot outsource my shift to ritual. Ritual works because I work. So here is my invitation for today. Identify one pattern from the old timeline that I am willing to break. Choose one small practical act that embodies the new timeline. I commit to practicing this act today with presence, with authenticity, with love. It could be something as small as pausing for 3 mindful breaths before reacting. It could be choosing to speak one sentence from your desired self rather than your fearful self. It can be sitting quietly and visualizing myself surrounded by the frequency of my chosen reality. It's not what I do, it's how I do it. And the beauty is that the quantum world doesn't need time to catch up. It responds in the present. As I engage in this practice, remember that I am not alone. I am part of a collective of beings awakening to their power, rediscovering their creative nature, and learning to dance with the field. And this channel, this space, is here to walk alongside me. So before we go into the final part of this journey, the part where we explore how to support the shift and truly live within the new timeline, I invite you, if this video has stirred something in me, if I feel a pulse of possibility opening within me, to hit subscribe. Stay close to this community. Stay close to these conversations. And in the comments, share one small action I commit to doing today. Something that will anchor me in my new timeline. It could be as simple as breathing, or trusting, or opening up. My word matters. My action matters because I matter. And so, here we are, at the final stretch of this journey together. I have gone through the science, the energy, the subconscious layers, and the embodied practices. But now comes the most important part. maintaining the shift, because the quantum field does not care if I visit a new timeline once. It rebuilds around me as I live there. Most people approach manifestation as a one-time event. They visualize, they affirm, they journal, they wait. And when results don't appear immediately, they fall back into the old frequency, not realizing that the real magic, the real transformation is in being. Persistence is the master key to quantum shift. Let's be clear. This does not mean forcing yourself to feel good all the time. This doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending to be in a high vibration when I'm not. It means developing the emotional and energetic capacity to return to alignment over and over again. Every time I falter and return, I'm amplifying the signal. Every time I notice how an old cycle is pulling me and gently choose a new timeline in its place, I'm amplifying the shift. Every time I act, speak, breathe, and choose as if I were already living in the state I desire, the old timeline loses its grip. This is not a punishment. This is a mastery. I am learning to become that quantum signal that collapses the wave, not just once in a while, not when it's convenient, but as a way of life. Let me offer you a simple roadmap. First, daily awareness. Start your day not with a to-do list, but with an alignment. Ask yourself, what frequency am I bringing into today? Am I bringing fear or trust? Am I expecting struggle or flow? Set an intention before my feet even hit the ground. Second, embodied action. Practice micro-alignment throughout the day. Notice when my actions are in alignment with my desired timeline and when they are not. If I want abundance, do I act generously or stingily? If I want love, do I open up or arm myself? If I want health, do I nurture or neglect? Small, repeated shifts matter more than occasional big leaps. Third, emotional regulation. I will react. I will doubt. That's human. The power is not in avoiding it, but in returning, breathing, grounding, reconnecting with the version of me that already knows this is who I am now. Fourth, community and symbols. Surround yourself with reminders, symbols like numbers, mantras, or sacred images that anchor me in alignment. Stay close to communities and voices that amplify my chosen timeline. Let the outside world be an ally, not a distraction. Finally, gratitude is an amplifier. Gratitude is an emotional signature of what I already have. When I practice gratitude, I send a signal to the quantum world. I am aligned, I am receptive, I am whole. This increases the coherence of my field and accelerates the folding of the desired timeline. Remember, I am not doing this to get somewhere. I am doing this because this is the place. I am not chasing a timeline. I am becoming the timeline. I would like to thank you for walking this path with me. I am not the same person who pressed play on this video. I am vibrating a little differently. I am carrying within me a new awareness, a new code, a new possibility. The real magic is not remembering everything we talked about. The real magic is what I do next. So here is my invitation. Not a homework assignment, not a checklist, just a living, breathing invitation. In the next 24 hours, surprise yourself. Do one thing, just one, that belongs to the version of me that lives in my desired timeline. Maybe it's a choice, a gesture, a conversation, or even a personal shift within my mind or heart. It doesn't have to be big, it just has to be real. And when I do, know this, I'm done waiting for change. I am them. If this video stirred something in me, I would be glad if I subscribed. Not because I follow a channel, but because I am entering a space where these kinds of awakenings are our starting point, where we continue to raise the frequency together. Thank you for my presence. Thank you for my energy. Thank you for daring to become more of who I really am. Keep going. Keep choosing. Keep surprising yourself, because when I do, the quantum field always responds.